Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Jiayanu, Pakhair Agale, Ni hao, Chunashume, Washmale, Ohio Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, Ola, Bonjour, Privyet, and a very amazing Khosh Ahmadi to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching well this morning alongside the very pretty Maha Makhdoom and Shahzad Khan. Hello, Maha, how are you?
Hello, Shahzad. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And you know, what I realized, I really like the way you go like this at the end, like Khosh Ahmadi.
It's like, marhaba,
yeah,
marhaba.
yeah, it's nice. It's
Ahlan
very-
wa sahlan, marhaba. I think this is something which I need to add
I
to my
feel
hellos and highs.
Yeah, it's nice. I think we should adopt that a little bit. We should do that in our show.
Let's do it. Ahlan wa sahlan,
Okay, I look
marhaba.
silly if I do that.
All right,
But anyway, how are you today?
I'm just fine. I think I'm catching up with flu because I didn't get one this season, and I get flu every season as well. So yeah, it's starting to get on to me.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm good. Like I was feeling a bit like I was also getting very tired, and you know, like there's a lot of work and there's a lot of things, and with the weather, it's really exhausting.
But before
I managed to get some rest.
Yeah, but before we talk about anything, you know, there's something hilarious which I want to share early in the morning. Very sorry for doing that. So I went to the canteen, right, so to the cafeteria to get some water for myself, and what I could see is that there's this like display of razors over there. So I asked the canteen guy, you know, why are razors over here in the office canteen? And then he was like that, you know, people come and get it. And I was like, really? I mean, what do they do with razors in the office?
They shave in the office. Some guy just came into the makeup room and was just brushing his hair. But they need it. Like some people work night shifts, some people may not have the facilities at home. So, you know.
Yeah, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny. But
I mean, our producers use it at times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you,
Vikas
sometimes you
needs
need
it today.
He's just defaming everyone. No, it's all good. But you know, it's about having things and it's about convenience. But anyway, we have a really important show lined up for you. It's something that's going to be giving you a lot of information. We're not lecturing, we're not preaching, but we're here to empower you guys and tell you what the situation is.
And we've never ever talked about this topic too.
No, we haven't actually touched upon this. We've touched upon it in the stroke of mental health and all these things, but really do stay tuned. And we're going to keep you on the edge and we're not going to tell you what the topic is, but we have to go and look at our top stories and see what's happening around the world and in Pakistan. Let's
do it. Good morning. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has called for garnering Muslim countries' support in the UN General Assembly, use economic actions and seek International Court of Justice's advisory opinion to revert US decision on relocating its embassy to Al-Quds. Great.
Really, that was a very strong statement what he made yesterday. I was reading it. And a photographic exhibition titled Bring the Change is being held in Islamabad.
Wow. Where is it?
To push the positive image.
Hong Kong-based artist and environment activist Kong Ning expressed her support for the One Planet Summit near Paris, donning an art piece she created entitled The Little Blue Man.
And Paris monuments, including the Eiffel Tower and the Sacré-Cœur, were lit up in blue and green for the end of the Paris Climate Summit.
And last but not the least, the third Ashes cricket test between Australia and England begins in Perth. Australia led the 5-match series 2-0. Congratulations, Australia.
Oh, gosh. I don't think England's going to win that.
Yeah, even in the one days, England didn't do well, right?
I feel like England is sometimes like Pakistan. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. It's not.
Or I think we have been giving away news about the test matches as well. But other than that, whenever Australia wins, how do people in England feel?
They get upset. It's the Ashes.
I mean, it's just like Pakistan versus India.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
No, but we are the ICC champions, so it's perfectly all right for everybody who's out there as well. But right now, time now for a public service message. Let's go ahead, let's take a listen because Maha's going to do the honors.
Guys, this is what I was discussing on Monday when Shahzad asked me how I was, and I kind of launched into what I was doing this weekend. But it's a very general public service message. But the thing is, mental health illnesses are something that's real. It's scientifically proven. There are theories which have the backing and the research behind it. That's why there's clinical psychologists. That's why we have psychiatrists. Now, in 2017, to still deny these things and to not take that into consideration when we are approaching a situation with a person that might be sensitive, that is really showing a lack of emotional intelligence, and it's really bad in the era of information technology.
Exactly.
There are different forms of mental illnesses. That doesn't mean you're crazy. It means that, external or internally, there's something that's affecting you, and everyone is different. So if you're friends with someone, if you're married to someone, if you have a child, try and have more empathy. You don't need to have pity, but you need to try and put yourself in the other person's shoes and how would you react. And don't be judgmental, because you don't know what battles people are going through. So that's my message, because we constantly say, oh, what's wrong? Just get over it, get over it. That's really a very ignorant comment.
And
so
this is
that's
what I
my
wanted
public
to ask
service
Ma as well. That thank you very much that you had a public service message which is in line with what we are going to discuss today.
Yeah, we should
But
try
other than that, what I wanted to ask was that how do you think that person might feel to whom you actually convey that oh, sab theek hai, everything's going to be fine. You're just getting worried, even though when we know that the person is actually having mental illnesses or problems.
Well, that's the thing. Almost to a degree, I feel like you negate that person's feelings and emotions, which makes them feel worse. Like, the thing is, there's some imbalance or there's something affecting you. So it doesn't really matter how much reassurance you get from the outside world, because if you feel bad inside, nothing outside is going to, no one's going to give you, no one can save you. No one's going to make you happy. You have to make yourself happy. But people need to be aware that there are different factors, and you need understanding in order to explore and grow.
And
so
that's what we are going to do, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
It's in line with what we are going to discuss. So we are going to discuss postpartum depression, which I think over here in Pakistan needs to be indicated, and actually people needs to be directed in a way where they should actually be aware of the fact that this kind of depression does exist.
Absolutely, and it doesn't just affect the person that's going through it, it affects the whole family as well. And also, as Shahzad mentioned, we've never done this show before, and there's a difference between postpartum depression and baby blues. We're going to find out all this stuff. Or is there a difference? And postpartum is also known as postnatal.
Yeah.
So if anyone's confused out there. So Shahzad is going to do the introduction.
All right, I'm going to
But
do
there are people, so basically, sorry, he's going to do it. But we have been joined by people who are under the umbrella of Tali, who we've already interviewed, who do the food drive and help people who are less fortunate. There is this new project that they've undertaken, which is called Sehat Ka Rishta, and that is, we're going to find out about it, but they are working on this issue. So let's find out what
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to find out Sehat ka hai kya rishta. All right, so on my right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by a clinical psychologist, a facilitator. She's none other than Miss Kiran Banaras. Hello Kiran, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm fine.
Thank you very much for joining us. Alongside Ms. Kiran Banaras, we have been joined by CEO of Thali, and she is none other than Ms. Zoon Hassan. Hello, how are you? Assalamu alaikum.
I'm good. Walaikum salam.
We're glad to have you
CEO
back.
sounds a bit big, but yeah, thank you for
Yes,
having us.
perfectly all right, even though you look very young too as well. So moving on, alongside Ms. Zoon Hassan, we have been joined by a facilitator at Sehat Ka Rishta. She's none other than Ms. Sana Khattak. Hello Sana, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking, Shahzad.
Thank you very much. Well, you can certainly ask us the same thing as well. We're fine. We look fine. All right.
We said we're fine.
Yeah, but last but not the least, facilitator and coordinator at Sehat Ka Rishta, we have been joined by Ms. Saleha Tahir. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you so
us.
much for being in such lovely smiling faces in the morning. So I'm sure people will be watching. But we're going to start with you, Zoon. Tell us, what is Sehat Ka Rishta?
First of all, tell us what Thali is, even though we know, but there are people, there can be newer audiences, and then continue with Sehat Ka Rishta.
So Thali is an organization we started 10 years back. We're working on different projects. Wastage of food is the first thing that we started off with. But currently we're working on postpartum depression. And I think it's, I mean, you were just saying that this is one thing that you've never done before. I can assure you that I don't know of any people, any morning show host or anyone who's actually talked about it before this.
Okay.
It's more of a stigma, but thank you for having us.
No, thank you
and
for
thank
reaching
you
out as well.
for giving us the opportunity to talk about it.
No.
So now let's move on with Sehat Ka Rishta.
Yes.
So Sehat Ka Rishta is a project which involves self-help groups for women experiencing postpartum depression. What is postpartum depression? So after you have a baby, and after the first week to anywhere to 1 year, if you feel symptoms of anxiety, being stressed out, irritability, or when you feel like crying, or your sleep and your appetite is being affected, I mean anything out of the normal, that means you're going through postpartum depression. But we just call it baby blues if it's less than 2 weeks or 2 weeks. But if it remains there with you for more than 2 weeks, it is actually postpartum depression.
But I think this is what we need to figure out as well. That what's the difference between baby blues? Since you just said that 2 weeks or 1 year. So 1 year is postpartum depression and 2 weeks is baby blues.
No, it's just 2 weeks is baby blues, and baby blues में आपकी जो चीज़ होती है, जो आपके symptoms होते हैं, they're not very strong, or they could be, but it only lasts for a maximum of 2 weeks or less.
Yeah.
But if it lingers on for more than that, it is usually postpartum depression.
Okay, exactly. So if the symptoms continue and the person isn't getting better, then it's something that people need to start being aware of. Okay, so let's move on to Kiran. So Kiran, tell us what are, wait, Zoon, you're going to tell us the symptoms of it, and then maybe you can share any extra symptoms as well. So
I'm actually going to tell you a little thing before I tell you the symptoms. I am only saying this on TV. I don't know many people say that, but I have experienced postpartum depression myself.
Okay.
And I can tell you that that feeling is terrible. You are like stuck in a circle, in like a small box, right? And you can't just get out of it.
Okay.
And the person who identified it for me was my husband.
Okay.
Unfortunately, people don't do that, and he's a big part in running Sehat Ka Rishta. He's unfortunately not here today. But so, I mean, the person who's actually going through it cannot even identify it at times.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like if someone was also suffering through
So I
depression,
think the
you
first
don't
ever
actually
symptom
understand.
of postpartum depression is having a baby. That's the first symptom.
Okay,
I'm sorry, we need to keep it light too as well.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
Sunday in the
but
morning.
but before we keep it light, let's get into the depths of it, and then we can come out into the light, through the darkness into the light. So, Kiran, tell us what are the actual, more defined psychological symptoms of postpartum depression?
Postpartum period is basically considered as that start during childbirth, and that lasts 1 year after.
Okay.
And episode of depression that that experienced during this time is known as postpartum depression.
Okay. So but tell me, I want to know the specific feelings. So Zoon has already mentioned you have anxiety, you feel trapped. What else is going on inside? How is this person behaving?
It's a very critical time for a woman.
Okay.
That everybody have many expectations from the women.
Okay.
That she's a mother, she's a wife, and she can manage everything.
Okay.
But she can't.
Okay. So it's an overwhelming feeling, and it's okay. So let's
No, but what I want to ask is, why does it happen? I mean,
yes.
But it's psychological. Women feel emotional, more weeping, helpless.
no, is there any hormonal imbalance?
Yes, it is.
It's hormonal balance, obviously.
Imbalance.
So it has it has a few reasons to it.
Yeah.
The main reason that happens in our part of the world is having a baby girl, which is a big issue.
So these are the external factors.
These are the external factors. Hormone is a big thing, of course, but a lot of external factors. So financial issues, a big change in your life, and a big issue is support from your spouse or from your family.
Okay, but the thing is, even people who have these loving husbands and extended families, they also suffer. So it is also look. Just imagine, for 9 months, something's been growing in you. It's been taking all your nutrients, your calcium, or everything. You can't sleep, you can't, lay down, and then it has to come out. So people who give delivery, so then it's the amount of hormones and chemicals that are being released in the body. I spoke to my dad. He's a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was wondering. That why do we even have guests today, man?
No, but it's just the chemical side. I want to explain because you're like,
good,
it's so
man.
external.
That's good. It's all right.
So it's the imbalance of the chemicals and the hormones because it's just so much.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to Sana. Yes, tell us.
I'd like to add another
please.
reason to it. Another psychological reason is expectations. Everybody has a lot of expectations from a person who's just had a child. And we also have, I'm a mother as well, I have a young 10 months old child.
Oh,
So I went through something similar, not as intense as she went through, but something similar. So what I experienced was that there were a lot of expectations, my own expectations from my motherhood. Like I thought I'll just make a big difference. I'll raise a child who will be the model for the humanity or something like that, because I was a first-time mother and all first-time mothers think like that. So when the reality actually hits you, when you actually see the thing, when that little cute thing actually comes to your hands, your world is upside down.
But what is the reality? You know, this is something which we need to pick up on, because there can be quite a lot of mothers who are actually watching the show right now, and they just might have given a birth to a baby. They cannot figure that reality out. This is what Zoon said. So what is that reality?
One thing more I want to add, that your body figure change. That every part of your body swells.
This is a major reason.
This is the major reason, that every part of your body swells, and women feel very anxious about this.
No, and the thing is, your whole body has been like gone through a massive trauma, right? That's it.
But Ma, even other than that, you know, when I used to weigh 106 kg, I literally used to look like a polar bear. And whenever I used to wear my clothes and, you know, stand right in front of the mirror, I never felt good about my personality too as well. So I think this is one difference which I think this can have an impact on anybody's personality.
A great impact. You feel bad about yourself. Your self-image matters a lot.
And also, I think it is like sometimes like, so tell us, so now when someone is going through something like this, so let's move on to the next. So we've done the distinction between baby blues and saying that it's 2 weeks. And then we've talked a little bit about the symptoms. But now I want to bring in Saliha into the conversation. You are facilitator and coordinator at Sehat Ka Rishta. What is your role within this whole project? Tell us about that.
So basically, I plan the sessions a few days in advance. We're running 2 groups.
Right.
So I contact the women, which actually is quite challenging, because considering it's 2017, most of them don't have telephones. So we actually have to send a person to their homes, door to door, to ask them to come to the session. So basically, we advance a few days. Sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
So basically, I plan a few days in advance, and keeping each session's content in mind, I share the pointers with our team, which are from the WHO Healthy Thinking module, which Zoon is probably going to talk about later as well.
We'll definitely talk about that, but what I wanted to ask was that you said that, you know, since the people you contact, they do not even have a cell phone or a phone at their places. So which segment of the society are you actually targeting, and within which segment does it, you know, we see more of these cases?
Can I just answer that? We're talking about right now the project we doing is based on the lower socio-economic class, but it doesn't have to do anything with that. Trust me. I had before we were starting this project, I had a few forms sent out. About 200 forms I received back from our own part of the society, and about 90% had gone through it.
No, but you initially within your interview you have mentioned that, you know, there can be economic disparity. These can be the reasons, financial issues. So you know, obviously, you know, if we're talking about the low socio-income group of the segment or the society, I think we probably need to cater it to the bigger market over here, because I think the entire world's watching. So we need to discuss those issues too.
So basically, it doesn't discriminate against who you are.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So no, I mean, obviously the thing is, the first thing that happens is that we don't talk about it. So I mean, actually talking about it makes a lot of difference. So you know, unless you're going to talk about it, nobody would know that you have it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, the program that Salia was talking to you about is actually Thinking Healthy, and it's now been adopted by WHO, but it was developed in Pakistan by Dr. Atif Rahman.
Amazing.
And we're actually working with a mental health specialist. She's also based in England. Her name is Dr. Najia Atif. And so after, you know, they realized that the study was so popular in this part of the world, WHO adopted it. And it has modules, right? So basic modules that we work with. So for example, a mother's personal health, a mother's relationship with the child, a mother's relationship with others around her. So all of these actually impact the way the mother is going to improve.
Okay, so now that's wonderful. So let's talk about this module you guys are doing. So Sana, you work with the girls, with the ladies, with the mothers and the ladies. on the ground. So tell us, what is the response of these ladies? Are they forthcoming? Are they saying, yes, we've gone through it? Are they a bit resistant to it? And what is, and the societies that they're in?
Or do they just simply deny that, you know, you can go and do your own work?
Initially, they do deny, but with a little persuasion, they really open up. And we have to maintain a very friendly environment. We have to show them that we are really concerned, that we are not just there to make fun of all what they went through. And with the passage of time, slowly, it's a slow process. Nobody opens up in the first meeting.
Of course.
But with the passage of time, we've been working with them for like almost 2 months. And now after 2 months, we can actually see the results. They trust us, they open up, they tell us their problems. And they have also told us that now they feel better about themselves. Because opening up makes you feel better about it.
And also they feel they have support as well, so that's excellent. So
it is great, and I certainly do not know since when postpartum depression has actually existed, but
from the beginning of time.
Yeah, but as a matter of fact, you know, back in the days over here in Pakistan, I don't see a family or a mother who's actually not given birth to 7 or 8 kids at, you know, within her lifetime as well. So why wasn't postpartum depression there, you know, at that point of time?
Yes,
we
have guests for this.
You know what, Shahzad, even now, I mean, you know, most of the mothers would say, drama nahi karo. Kuch nahi ho raha. So a lot of times, you know, I mean, since they were told that, okay, there's nothing wrong, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is what happens, so just get up and, you know, just forget about it.
So, Maha, what do you have to say?
No, let's ask Sana.
I want to hear Maha too.
I will remember Sana first.
In our society, there is this aura that you're being blessed having a child. How can you tell you're not happy about it? It's a stigma. There's something really wrong with you. You're not a genuine person. You cannot show love to your child. So people don't understand.
I mean, even over here in Pakistan, you know, when you get married, or when are you going to have a baby? I mean, come on, yeah, it's our choice.
No, but even when you have one baby, they'll ask you when you're going to have the next one or the third one, or the society is like that.
This is a question which I get every year now.
Okay, but that's the thing. So, what was your question?
So this was my question.
Okay,
that,
so
you know, back in the days, there were, you know, 8, 9. I mean, we are 7 brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah. My grandparents were 11 brothers and sisters. You know, my dadi was never suffering from postpartum, or we never checked, or we never cared,
I'd like
or we
to
never
say
knew.
something about it. Maybe she did suffer, but because of the society, the setup, she couldn't talk about it. Now we are talking about it. It's always been there. It's just that we have just started talking about it now.
Okay, and even in the West, I mean, up until very recently, you know, these things, mental health is never taken seriously. Depression, even till this day, is not taken seriously. And back then, times were different, Shahzad. You lived in joint family systems. People also did not share emotions, and like, I mean, my grandfather started the first separate psychology department in the 60s or 70s. I can't remember the exact date.
No, but I want to see what you have to say about this question as well, because you know, you yourself have got quite a lot of research within psychology and psychiatry.
But that's what it is that things are now more open. People are able to discuss it more. Back then, it was a stigma. It's still a stigma, but you did not talk about these things. If your husband was beating you, you did not talk about these things. You just
if your husband was beating you, they used to say that, you know, he loves you. You know, that's why he's beating you. Oh,
so, but God, it's, you know, times are changing, so that's why.
And I just hated being the sheep on the show, man. I'm telling you that.
Well, you put yourself there sometimes.
No, but somebody needs to ask all of these things.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so now let's go on to Saliha. You coordinate these things, and you get the workshops, you do the meal plans. So how are you making it for the people, specifically catering to the people you're targeting? What research is involved? I mean, you said well, you guys started it, but...
Yeah. I think Zoon can answer that better.
Okay.
Zoon can regarding answer all the questions we asked. But, you know, we asked you something.
Yeah.
Okay, so
no, regarding the module. Yeah, so basically it's designed in a way that we can sort of...
okay, Zoon.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Relax.
So actually, the research we've done has been taken from a lot of different psychologists and psychiatrists. Like I just said, Dr. Atif is one of the lead persons who's actually been involved in this in Pakistan. The Human Research Development Foundation is actually working in Pakistan, and they're doing all the research here right now. So all the studies, most of it that we use is coming from them.
So before we move on towards a small break, can you please share a few figures as well? That you know, what is the current status
1 in 4 women have it.
Oh
1 in 4 women.
I think
1 in 4 mothers have it.
1 in 4. Yeah.
And one thing I want to add, in Pakistan, the rate of postpartum depression is about 25.8% during pregnancy and almost 38.3% during postpartum period.
Okay, so now we're going to go with all these like figures and all this conversation. We're going to go for a short break so you can absorb the information, and then when you come back, we're going to continue. What are the solutions? How can we move forward, and how can we make people more understanding? Because I still think there's a lot of ignorance and resistance to accept that this is out there. So do stay tuned.
Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned into PT while you watching World this morning alongside Maha Makhtoom and Shahzad Khan. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are in discussion with our guests, and the topic we're discussing is postpartum depression. And we've certainly reached a point where we've actually discussed that, 1 out of 4 women is diagnosed with postpartum depression.
Or suffering from it. So let's go take a video. We will share some information with you. And when you come back, I'm going to correct my comment about why people... Shahzad's comment about, oh, no one talked about it before, so stay tuned.
Wow, that's cool.
I felt like had the most wonderful experience after they had their baby, but I didn't know how to say, like, I am freaking out.
Postpartum depression to me is the disconnect you have with your baby.
An overwhelming, uncontrollable sense of anxiety.
One of many mental illnesses that can affect mothers.
When I got pregnant, I was instantly in a bad mood. In addition to that, I had fibroids, which are tumors that grow in your uterus, and it was really scary.
I knew I had postpartum depression from the first time when I went to go and pump my breast milk at work, and I just broke down crying.
I actually remember saying to my husband, people kept saying I'd be so emotional and I feel fine. And the reality of the situation was that I was completely emotionally numb.
Right after I had the baby, it was my husband's birthday, so I baked him a cake and I invited people over, and people were like, what are you doing? but I felt like it was my duty to celebrate his birthday, to try to nurse, and then come back and put on a happy face.
I believed that every parent around me knew what they were doing and that I was this devastating failure.
When my son was 4 months old, and I remember breastfeeding him, but he wouldn't stop crying. And I got face to face with him and I screamed, "Stop crying." That was probably the moment I realized I needed help.
It's a really defeating feeling, knowing that this is something you have no control over.
I thought after that moment, I just need to hold my baby. I don't ever want this to happen again, and something has to change.
Being a stay-at-home mom was really isolating, but I felt like I kind of came out of it when I started exercising and hanging out with other moms.
I started feeling better when I could wake up to my baby every morning, and he just makes everything better and everything worthwhile.
To all the mothers going through this, surround yourself with people who get it, because you're not alone.
I know there's so much pressure right now to be like a perfect mom. You have to be honest. You have to let people in and let them know what you're going through.
If you are out there and you are struggling, I want you to know that it is going to get better.
I'm a mother, and I am vulnerable, but I am capable.
And I am fighting every day.
And I'm doing the best that I can.
And struggling with postpartum depression didn't make me weak, but becoming victorious over it, that's what made me strong.
We have lost way too many moms, so please stay with us. Find yourself a community.
So I think these symptoms were actually very well discussed within this video, and for all those people who are out there, if you feel anything like that, I think you need clinical attention as well. So let's correct that.
Okay, so even myself, I was actually incorrect in what I was saying. Actually, Hippocrates in 700 BC was talking about how emotional women get during a postpartum period. And then it was in the 1850s, it was recognized officially as a postpartum disorder. In the 19th century, women experienced it, but they were often diagnosed as neurotic. So then that's when that stigma started to be attached with it. And then in 1950s, they used to give women electric shock therapy. Wow. So this is how, depressed people start throwing into the crazy bin. It doesn't mean you're loopy. It means that life is a bit overwhelming and you need support.
Thank God we have got access to so much information now,
yes,
at least,
absolutely.
that we can actually relate to that as well. But, obviously, all of these things have been discussed. Now, there's one more point which I want to discuss since, we're talking about women. So can postpartum depression affect fathers too?
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how can we figure it out that, either we're going through it or not?
See, actually, the biggest thing is, Shahzad, that once you're living with a person going through depression, and you know that, if somebody's sitting right next to you and you're sitting with that person day in, day out, you know that the person is depressed, you start feeling sad yourself.
Yeah.
So, it might not be a clinical depression just like the person, but it can happen, it can affect you really bad.
So that means that it can be the same feeling that, I wanted to be a Superman for my son or daughter, and I failed within my own self and couldn't really fulfill my own expectations.
And my wife, I'm not supporting her.
And what's happening. But so how do we treat all of these illnesses?
Okay, let's talk about the positive. But the one thing you wanted to highlight another aspect that was really important.
Yeah, how do we identify these women?
Identifying these women.
So we're using a personal health questionnaire. It's called PHQ, and we're using the PHQ 9 version, which has about 9 aspects that we cover, and it has questions like. How do you feel about work in the last 2 weeks only? Okay. So are you able to do your work okay? Do you feel more, is your sleep pattern all right? Is your appetite okay or not? So based on this, so we selected women with a score which was moderate in the middle range. Because the score higher than that, you need clinical help for that. Yeah. And then that's how we selected. So just want to highlight something, Shahzad. It's just been 2 months, right?
Yes, it's been 2 months.
And one of the examples is that 2 women, their score dropped from 17 to 7.
Amazing.
And honestly, the way these girls they work, and they didn't go yesterday to the session because I had one yesterday. They were actually asking about them and said every week we are waiting for Sana and Kiran to come. If they don't come, we don't even enjoy our meal.
So what do you guys do? In your sessions?
We'll ask Sana and then we'll move on to Kiran. So what is it in the sessions that you're doing? How are you supporting them? Because that's so great. You're creating this network.
First thing, we try to develop friendship, a feeling of security, an environment where they feel safe to talk about what they're going through.
I need to attend these sessions.
Yes, you can. As an observer.
You know, because the spouses actually need to accompany their wives as well, so that they could actually know the, what the problem is.
So the first session was actually where these girls invited the mothers-in-law and husbands.
Okay, so how did
so
that
the
go?
family has a little awareness about what they're going through. So first we were really scared that what's going to happen when we talk about it, because nobody's talked about it that openly in our environment, in our society. But we started slow. With the passage of time, we told them a little about what they were going through was completely normal. They can talk about their feelings. And then they started, we shared our own examples as well, that we also went through all this, and it's okay to feel that way. So when we shared our experiences, then the women really opened up.
Yeah.
They started feeling this, they made a relation. They could draw examples from our lives that if they feel this and we feel the same, it's okay to talk about that. And then we brought them to towards accepting that it's normal, they are normal, and they can fight it. And we also try to divert their attention towards positive aspects, like we make different arts and crafts. In the last session, Zoon told them how to make frames with their pictures and their kids' pictures, so that they can also maintain a relationship with their child and the significant others as well.
Okay, so Kiran, add something to this when you're working with the families.
We are currently working with the two groups of women experiencing postpartum depression, and each group have two session facilitators and one coordinator come session facilitator for both the groups. And each of the women has to overgone into 10 sessions that is based on mother's health, relationship of mother with the child, and relationship of mother with those around her, and we exercises and activities that distract them, oral and physical hygiene, and also breast cancer awareness.
Okay, so tell me, what are the reactions of the families from before and now? Because, you know, like as you mentioned, there's a lack of support. That's why the video we showed you that were American figures. In Pakistan, it's 1 in 4. So just to clarify that for our viewers. So tell me, how has that evolved since you guys first started? What were people first saying? You know, the mother-in-laws and the husbands, what did they first say, and now what did they say?
They previously very much hesitated about opening up. But when we give a warm environment to them and friendship with them, then they started open up, and they started open up a lot. And now they feel very comfortable with us.
No, but you know, one last thing which I wanted to ask, and that is that since you're a clinical psychologist yourself, so clinically, what kind of treatments are available other than these sessions or calling them in? So how do you think that we can get help?
We have basically techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and we have many of the exercises like breathing exercise. It is most important.
Can you share one of them with us?
Breathing exercise, it's one of the most important.
Can you share it with everyone how to do it?
Actually, you should do it as well.
We're going to do it.
Nice. Salia can actually show you. She's
Salia's in the game now.
She's a breathing exercise expert.
Yes.
All right,
Let's do it.
So basically, you just move your neck here and there and kind of flex it, and then you keep your back straight, and you breathe in as much as you can, and so when you breathe in, you count 1, 2, 3, and you should feel your stomach go in right till it's touching your back. So, and then you let it out.
But actually, when you breathe in, it comes out.
No, it's supposed to go in, and then you breathe out. And then you do this for 2 minutes, and it's actually very relaxing. It eases your mind. So we're trying to teach the women that they should do that. They have crazy lives, very difficult lives. So we encourage them to, take some time out, maybe 5 minutes, for themselves, sit in a place, in a quiet environment, and do the breathing exercise, and it's very beneficial.
And that's wonderful, because you do need some time to yourself. But I want to ask you, if someone is suffering from postpartum, is there any medical, like, as in like medicines and things as well? Or
and there's another adjoining
is it
question,
just psychological?
and that is that can there be symptoms of all of these depression while you're pregnant as well?
Yeah, so first I'll answer your question, Shazad, because prenatal. So yeah, it starts off in pregnancy, and we term it as prenatal or a prenatal depression. And that's the time when actually women start feeling a little detached with the child when it's not even out yet, right? So these symptoms can happen at that time as well, and we call it prenatal depression. I'm sorry, I just forgot.
The medical, the treatment for postpartum depression, once that, is it just psychology and therapy based, talking therapy, or is there other stuff as
Okay, so the first thing is, Maha, that in our society, not even gynecologists tell you that you can go through this. Okay, so women hardly know that this can happen to them. So number one, you need to be aware that it is. So we tell these women we're working with, जैसे खांसी, जुकाम, बुखार होता है. So this can happen to you anytime, like flu, cold, and cough. Okay. So intervention is what we basically go with. Clinical therapy is something what we do. Self-help groups are really useful in this context because women lack social support. So once they come in the form of groups, they have social support, they have friends coming in, they have us. So it makes a lot of difference. And we call it self-help because we're giving them techniques to take care of themselves.
And by themselves.
No, but we've talked about that. What I'm saying is that all there is? They can't take medicine for
They can.
Antidepressants?
They can, but we don't go with that.
No, you don't. You need a psychiatrist.
Actually, see, the main thing is, Maha, that, you know, you're feeding the child, so it's not
absolutely.
suitable.
So you need a medical professional to do that. That's why you need to at least go to a psychiatrist if you're going to take any medicine, but make sure you get all the information out. Anyway, we've run out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for letting me do that. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. We tried to get as much information out there. Maybe if we were lacking on anything, do let us know. Write to us on our Facebook fan page.
Which is with the name of World This Morning.
Our Twitter page.
World This Morning without a G.
Our Daily Motion YouTube page.
World This Morning, World This Morning.
And the repeat is at
11 p.m.
Have a wonderful day, and we have a wonderful show lined up for you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. Rock Kawali's coming in. Please make sure that you tune in tomorrow as well.
Beautiful.
On Friday.
Okay, have a great day. Be good, be safe.
Look out for yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.